of expectations and how expectations are evolving, I found some stats. I think some of them are very much inspired by your first book, Marry Him. One of them is that 80% of women want to date a man over 6 foot tall, when only 15% of men are over 6 foot tall.
Yes, that's in the book.
I found some other studies. An eHarmony study found that 40% of single people have deal breakers that are associated with physical appearance, and 50% of singles expect their partner to be their best friend, soulmate, and to fulfill all of their emotional needs. That was a study done by Match.com. And then the other ones that I found quite interesting were, you talk about in the book how this sort of generational shift in expectations and where that's come from. But in like my granddad's generation, or even my dad's generation, I would assume they wouldn't have had the same set of impossible expectations. I would assume. Is that what you found in your research?
I think everybody wants to feel that really deep connection with their partner. And so I think that the way that society has improved is that we are not just marrying for sort of practicality, but we are also marrying because we genuinely enjoy being with this person and want to go through life with this person. But I think what we're losing a little bit is, do our values align? Like, the practical part matters. So I think the pendulum swung in the other direction, went from almost pretty much all practical to now it's all like, is this person my soulmate and do they move me? And I think you have to have both. I'm really attracted to this person's essence. And what I mean by essence is most people will say, this is, I don't know where the study came from, but I remember reading this study, that most people will say that the person that they chose to spend their lives with is not the most attractive person they ever dated. And I think that a lot of people say, well, I wouldn't want my partner to think that, but you're more attractive to your partner holistically. That's why they chose you. That's why you chose them. That's why you're together. So it's not just about, is this the person who was the most, the hottest person you've ever dated? And so I think we really have to think about holistically, who do we want to be with? And that's what kind of trips us up, because the practical side matters. Do you have similar ideas about the kind of life you want to live? Do you have similar ideas about how, if you want to have kids or if you don't want to have kids, and how many you might want to have, where you want to live, what kinds of things you want to do in your lives, what matters to you, who you are in the world, political beliefs. Often people say, well, that doesn't matter as much. I think when you have very different views, not necessarily about like what political party you're with, but more about how you see the world. If you see the world very, very differently, that can cause a lot of problems in the relationship later on, not because you're fighting about the world, but because those differences will show up in the way you treat each other.
I hear